Everyone, my name is Dr. Raj Shakay. I'm the Director of Product and Materials at LuxCreo. It's my pleasure to join you today. A little bit about me. My background is actually in polymer physics and polymer chemistry, and I've been very deeply immersed in the digital dentistry application space for a number of years now. It's been a really great journey, meeting a lot of really smart clinicians and learning a lot about the problems facing the industry and the solutions that we can provide uniquely to the space. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our approach to clear aligner workflows, what we think is broken, how we are fixing it, and what our results are so far. So diving right in, I want to start out with talking a little bit about LuxCreo's mission and core values. We then go into solving the big picture problem as we know it. We think that there are huge problems in the clear aligner workflow to clear aligner product as space, and we think we have some really innovative solutions to solving some of these big problems. We'll talk a bit about what sets our 4D aligner workflow apart, how simple it is, how customizable it is, and how safe, effective, and efficient it is. And finally, we'll go a little bit through some of the clinical results we have. We have a huge library of clinical results. I'm just picking a few to talk to you about in more detail, just to kind of show you how our approach is leading to some really, really nice results. I want to start by talking a little bit about our mission and vision. So LuxCreo was founded in 2019, and we were founded with this simple purpose, and it was simplify manufacturing. That was why we existed in the first place. And the reason why we said such a generic name like simplified manufacturing is because we started off with a bunch of core technology. This core technology was the ability to print with really low separation forces in 3D printing, and the ability to 3D print completely clear appliances. We also built some really, really interesting material science that we have a huge library of patents on. And those material science at the stage for creating direct printable elastics, which are used in our footwear industry, which we'll talk about in a different webinar, and also the printing really, really strong, really tough and durable clear plastic appliances that ended up setting the foundation for dental industry. But it was a long journey for us. We had core technology. We had really, really great material science. We had a way of printing clear. We had a way of printing fast and accurate, and we then had to turn it into a product. So all these things that I described is not a product. The product is, in our opinion, something that really drives value for you, the customer, and really enables you to do something really new in a way that is really a no-brainer. So we expanded on that and we moved into the application space of dentistry, and we had a long learning curve, but our goals were we wanted clinicians to be in control of their clinic. A lot of people talked to us about how they felt that they were losing a lot of the control in their clinic to externalities, the imprecision of existing aligner treatments leading to longer chair time and higher labor costs and higher labor overhead leading to and labor time demands, making it much harder to adopt new technologies, and the space of orthodontic treatments still being relatively inefficient. We realized that we needed to be able to deliver personalized medical devices at all scales, whether it's a lab scale or a clinic scale. We need to empower medical professionals to really take control of their practice and enhance the patient experience. And we needed to simplify digital dentistry for all, make it easier for new practices to come in and grow, make it easier for older practices and more established practices to become more efficient, more profitable, while also providing a better service to their patients, and really easing the transition from analog to digital in this age. So that's really set the stage for where we wanted to go. And we had a few core values that are completely uncompromising for LuxCreo that were set in place from the beginning when we founded the company. Number one was safety, product safety, patient safety. Number one concern. We want to make sure that our customers' patients are never compromised when it comes to safety, no matter what. We want to make sure that our customers who may be making direct printed aligners or other custom devices at any scale are always safe. And we want to make sure that our own employees are safe. So that was number one. Number two is simplicity breeds creativity. This is a really important concept for us. It's something we talk about a lot. And that is the simpler a product is to use, the simpler it is to make a device, the more creative people are going to be about what they can do for this device. What kind of treatments can be created? How can boundaries be pushed into space? Because simplicity means getting out of your way, making the thing that is sitting in your head become reality in a more frictionless way. And that is one of the core tenets of every single thing we do in our product design. Third is customer experience. Customer experience really centers all the work that we do. We really, really, really want to make sure that our customers have a phenomenal experience with our products, from the time that they place an order to the first device they make to the 10,000th or 10 millionth device they make. And finally, a science first product design philosophy. We're a bunch of engineers, we're a bunch of nerds, and we had to learn a lot about the application space that we're in. But one of the things that we've always been super particular about is that we are a science first company. When we design a product, when we design a new solution, it is born from data. We really, really work with our customers. We really work internally to create a robust data apparatus that supports every single thing that we do. So this is really what sets us apart in our product definition, and this is really what led to the 4D aligner solution. It's a comprehensive, simple solution that just works. Um, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that really set us apart. World-class support system. It's based here in Chicago, where I'm sitting right now. Is a core value at LuxCreo. When we interview people, no matter what we interview them for, any position whatsoever, we ask them how they feel about customer success and how they feel about the customer, about making sure that whatever they do, they're doing it for the customer. We are customer obsessed. We have Lux, a lot of modules and tools that we have built to help our customers. Lux Academy, right, is how LuxCreo learns LuxCreo. All new hires in LuxCreo are onboarded through Lux Academy. But guess what? It's exactly how our customers also learn LuxCreo. Time to smile, under 15 business days, which means that you receive your solutions in less than 10 days after ordering the solution. You're onboarded and you're productive within 5 days of taking delivery. And we really work with you to make sure that on your schedule, we're able to make that happen. So I talk a lot about customer support, but I think it's really something that sets us apart at LuxCreo. Um, we have a total solution that's globally validated. So this goes back to our product philosophy, where what is a product? Is it a bottle of resin? Is it a 3D printer? What we consider our product is all of the above. A solution, right, that enables you to produce the appliances and devices that you need at the scale that you need them to. A design and manufacturing service that we also provide, that I think Kevin may talk to you a little bit more about later on, that does the same thing, that is just simple and easy and always just works. And all the little things that go into this are components of the product that add up to far more than the sum of their parts. And we have a comprehensive materials library. We work with many of our partners, such as Rodin, such as Desktop Health, such as Reba, Glidewell, PacDent, and Keystone, to create a whole library of 18 supported resins and up to 18 indications, 11 indications on top of what we already provide with aligners and splints and models. And we're FDA Class 2, we are EU MDR, we are NMPA, CFDA Class 2. We have a lot, and we are Health Canada certified as well. We are registered around the world, and we're ready to go wherever you are. So 4D aligners are safe, approved, and easily repeatable. And this is another thing that is a core part of LuxCreo is regulatory. We lead the world in regulatory compliance. And when it comes to 3D printable resins, we take this very seriously with our regulatory team, and we really go through the extra mile to make sure that no matter where you are, no matter with our solution, you're able to guarantee that the products that you make through our very simple one-click workflow will be safe, effective, and reliable. So as a result, in over 2 years of regular use across hundreds, even thousands of customers, with thousands to tens of thousands of devices made, there have been no reported adverse effects. Moving on, I want to talk to you a little bit about the big clear aligner problem. And many people might think, is there a clear aligner problem? I don't know. I'm in my clinic, I'm thermoforming, and things are going fine. But what we think, right, is that the performance issues with thermoformed aligners have become the industry standard. And it's just baked into the process. It's just what people expect, to the point where it's sometimes it may not even be seen as a problem, right? But what we find is there are numerous issues, and I'm going to talk about that very soon. But what happens is these issues, they lead to endless refinements, and they lead to multiple mid-course corrections, patient frustration, and non-compliance. The non-compliance could be because it's hard to speak. It could be because they're on refinement number 6 and they're just done, right? Shared time is increased, clinic productivity and profitability is reduced, and doctors feel less in control. They, a lot of orthodontists, might tell me that when they prescribe braces, right, and the patient has braces, they could just twist something. They feel they're in control of the treatment, right, and really in control of where the teeth are moving. But when they do aligners, they just feel less in control for a lot of different types of orthodontic movements. Why is that? So we'll go into that, and we think that we change the paradigm. Unparalleled accuracy, productivity, and design control reclaims your productivity, reclaims value for everyone, and reclaims satisfaction for everyone. So let's first. So I like to describe this as a black box, right? So there are issues, two types of issues that we articulate. One is aligner accuracy and efficacy issues, and the other type category of issues is treatment and compliance issues, right? So with aligner accuracy and efficacy, there's a lot of things that can feed into this. Model accuracy. When you're 3D printing a model, how accurate is the model, right? If you go down the list, a lot of people will 3D print their models using a lot of different types of resins, a lot of different types of printers. Those printers and those resins have a huge variability when it comes to the accuracy of the model. You've seen that model accuracy go as low as 50% at 200 microns and as high as 95% at 50 microns, right? But that leads to differences in the way that the appliance will fit. The model height, for example, can lead to the thickness of the aligners being substantially different, in different parts of the tray, which can of course lead to unpredictability when it comes to their ability to retain teeth or move teeth. The thermoforming process can lead to inaccuracies during the thermoform. Right, they can lead to issues with removal of the appliance. They could lead and the finishing of the appliance. The materials can vary, right? And the stress and overall, what happens is the aligners themselves can have accuracy issues intrinsically. They can have accuracy issues from distortion upon from the manufacturing process, from the thickness being super variable, from different types of anatomies and different types of treatments, orthodontic treatments, basically leading to issues with conformity around attachment points, or around extreme crowding, or around undercuts, right? And then we have treatment compliance issues, right? We have the treatment design. What is the treatment IQ? All right. A lot of people, if you send a treatment to a design service, right? How well does the design service actually design the treatment in a way that will actually work? Is there enough IPR being prescribed, or is IPR being prescribed? Or is what's the attachment design? Is it too small? Is it too big? Are there too many? Too few? Right? The scanning quality, right? Is the scan even a good quality to begin with? And then the patient comfort and compliance. If the patient doesn't enjoy the treatment, they're just not going to comply. So if all of these things can lead to a black box, and this black box leads to significant refinements needed for mid-course corrections. If you look at the graph on the right, you'll see that we exhibit normal stress recovery behavior. There's you might think, oh, is this kind of like night tie wire, right? Which is like nitinol wire. Night tie wire is a shape memory alloy, and I would say it's kind of the opposite, right? So night tie wire, it actually becomes stiffer, but we're actually a little bit different. So our active memory polymer, right, is glassy intraorally, but it goes into a rubbery state in a hot environment. And a rubbery state allows the material to reset itself. So what happens with active memory is when it goes to a rubbery state, the polymer network actually remembers what it is supposed to be, what conformation is supposed to be like in a glassy state. But in a glassy state over time, like any other plastic material, it will get a little bit deformed under use. So when it goes back to rubbery state with a hot environment, it remembers its original conformation and it resets itself. So when it goes back from rubbery to glassy, It's basically the confirmation that it was before it got deformed. Other shape memory aligners that may exist out there, right? Will go from glassy in the ambient room temperature to rubbery intraorally, or maybe, and what that does is it basically makes it very hard for those materials to move teeth effectively, right? Those are materials that you might find like in graphene, for example. But since our glass decision temperature is much higher, we're able to make sure that you have the right glassy, rigid properties, elastic properties intraorally. So I talked to you a little bit about active memory, right, and how we were able to really refresh and rejuvenate the material. And I want to tell you a little bit about how we kind of tested that, right? So we did 24 hours of mechanical deformation by half a millimeter, which is about twice that of a normal treatment velocity, and with simultaneous force recording. And then we did active memory rejuvenation by putting in boiling water for a minute, cooling it, and then performing another cyclic test to make sure to test to see how the material responded post rejuvenation. And what you can see here, right, is by every single day we got the exact same active memory stress response. So we were able to see that there's essentially no degradation in mechanical properties during shape memory cycling. And our shape memory, and I don't show it here, but I could show it to you offline if you want, if you just write an email to our team. But we have about 99.8 to 99.9% conformity to the original design after active memory rejuvenation. So the other thing I want to talk to you a little bit is maintenance, right? So 4D aligners are a novel technology, and the 4D aligners require easy but specific maintenance for the best patient experience, right? So we have what's called and I believe a Reju kit is it's a $50 box, small box, and it's a modified ultrasonic cleaner. The ultrasonic cleaner um, will also heat your device to ensure that it's able to undergo active memory rejuvenation, but it also cleans the device where with the by the addition of a cleaning tablet, like a retainer bright or a polydent. So a normal case, right? You could use this every single day if you want, and it will rejuvenate your appliance by deep cleaning it, ensuring that it remains nice and clear, and also you know, reverses any stress relaxation that may occur in the material, which can get you to that from that 80% to 100%. So it also allows for deep cleaning in case, the patient was unable to really clean the material for several days. So if you look at this normal case, right, the patient is pretty compliant, but let's say they go for a weekend trip. They remove their liners when they drink coffee or wine, eat food. They brush your teeth, 2 to 3 times a day. They keep good oral hygiene, but they couldn't really rejuvenate the material, and this is what their liner looks like after about 3 days, right? So then they go through the rejuvenation, add water and tablet, press the button. It takes 10 minutes after you press the button, and then you rinse it. You would even brush it with a soft bristle brush if you like, and then it looks perfectly good. But it also really works well for extreme cases. So here's a case. Both of these are real patient cases, but this person was wearing a retainer. They didn't clean it for nearly a month. I think about 4 weeks, or three to 4 weeks. But they often also didn't remove the appliance while drinking coffee or wine. They didn't practice very good oral hygiene. And this is probably the worst retainer I've ever seen in my life. And we looked at it and we're like, dear God, was this from us? Was this our product? Oh my God. But we then we got the full story about the issues with the patient compliance, felt a little bit better, and we said, okay, well, any retainer, any aligner that is subject to this kind of oral hygiene and compliance issue would probably look pretty similar to this. But can we reverse it? Because one of the things that you can't really do with thermoform aligners is use boiling water to reverse. So we gave it the active memory treatment, and this is what it looked like coming out of the active memory treatment. It looked pretty much as good as new. This was actually a really, really cool result, and it showed that even for some pretty extreme cases, you were able to reduce maybe not 100%, but like 90% of the discoloration of in even a relatively non-compliant case. Patients are really seeing the benefits of the treatment, right? So, and I want to share such benefit. This is from a patient testimonial, And we don't really get a lot of videos where of patients that are able to experience both thermoform aligners and 3D printed aligners. But this patient was, and this is what they had to say. Okay, so this is Olivia. Say hi. All right, I'm putting you on the spot right now because you're helping me to understand something. So you've been for the last 8+ months in what we call DCA aligners. Yes. And you don't really have any complaints about the staining, right? No, it's fine. It's very tolerable. Tolerable for sure. Great. When I went longer, when I was going through, they got bad, but 2 weeks they're fine. They're great. Fantastic. We got through our first stage. We rescanned you to build a couple more trays, but I was trying to be slick and I got you something quickly. So I switched you over to what we call thermoforming for just a couple of trays. Yeah. What's your experience with your speech been now that you've worn both types of trays? So I have the current tray is with the current tray, which is thermoformed. Okay. The other one I got used to almost immediately. It's like people have a hard time understanding me for sure. Do you feel? No, I think these are more painful. The thermoformed is more painful. Yeah. Fantastic. Like, I have a migraine with these. Okay. And I've been grinding and I migraine with these. That you didn't have with the other ones. The other ones, right when I boil them, they're very snug, but they're not. But relaxes pretty quickly. Yeah. I don't notice them. They're in. Okay. For like 20 minutes. Yeah. Would you say if you were telling a friend, right, if you'd recommend the DCA tray versus the thermoform tray, do you have a preference which one you liked? The other one, what is this? What is this not? This is thermoformed. So the DCA. Yeah. It's just the staining is worth the comfort and the lisp. So your speech is better. Yeah. Right. There's no question that the teeth moved, which we just reviewed our photos. So this is a really interesting case. So this is so Dr. Warshawski has multiple clinics, right? And I think he has our solution at one of his 3 clinics. And this patient needed to come in, but they could only slot her at a different clinic. So we had to thermoform the next a couple of trays in the next clinic. And this is how the patient really felt when it came to thermoforming versus 40. And so to recap, better comfort, right? Easier to talk, teeth move just as well or better. But she really prefers the 40 aligners, even with the maintenance, right, that she does. She really, really enjoys the experience. And therefore, that compliance is what I was talking about before, being able to speak better, right? Being able to have a more comfortable appliance, but have it be as effective or more effective. That is sort of the thing that really drives the value for the patient and for the clinician. So our customers are seeing this. They're growing fast with a quick ROI. We had to cut down. I had like 4 slides of customer testimonials, and I just picked 2 people, right? So Dr. Bordas in Downey, California, right? And Dr. Bordas is the biggest issues that he had was patient wait times, and most patients said 75% of patients were complaining about how long it takes, and then the wait time between ordering aligners and getting and starting the treatment sometimes meant their teeth moved a little bit more, which further worsened the treatment, efficacy. But what used to take multiple visits now only takes one. LuxCreo's 40 aligner system allowed us to take on more patients, reduce treatment times, enhance patient outcomes, and set them up for significant financial growth. And what they were able to see is their sales tripled after LuxCreo, right? And their revenue is increasing by over $13,000 per month in 3 months straight. And this is all powered by the LuxCreo the aligner system. Right. So Dr. Warshawski is at Get Straight Orthodontics, been in practice for about 35 years in Chicago, Illinois. And over the past 6 months, we've completed about 65 cases using LuxCreo's 4D aligner system. Compared to thermoform aligners, we see better comfort, clearer speech, better tooth movement, right? And on top of delivering a superior product, the 4D aligner system has allowed them to save well over 27,000 in lab fees alone, on top of gains from reduced chair time, higher efficiency, and an astounding ROI. So you can see here is cost savings in 4D in-house versus lab fees. It's a fraction, right? But at the same time, his practice is much more efficient. His patients are happier, and and his chair time is significantly reduced. I want to talk to you a little bit about the 40-liner workflow, right? So, and I've talked to you a little bit about why 40-liner, how we're able to tackle a lot of the problems. Now, and now I'm going to actually show you how this works, and you'll be able to hopefully piece together the things that we talk about in terms of the things you gain from direct printing using the 4D workflow versus thermoforming, but really see how that works in practice with the next part here. So first, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the simple and our simple, powerful digital workflow, right? So we have two modes. We have what's called Fast Track AI, and we have Control Mode. Fast Track AI is a mode that basically you set a profile, and you load your case, and you go get a coffee, and it's done, and you send it to a printer, and you deliver to your patient, right? The Control Mode is for the cases where you have a really difficult case. You need a little bit more hands-on approach with this patient anatomy. You're trying to make a bespoke device that really fills the some unique needs that a patient has. Well, control mode has you covered, and it's really simple. We have our one-click print mode. Once your liner shells are designed, they're exported, oriented, supported, and nested in one click, making printing easy and in one-touch post-processing, which guarantees a safe, efficient, and minimal error workflow, ensuring in quality devices you can always trust. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about here is the automate for aligner shell design using Fast Track AI. This is what I would say most people are going to use about 90 to 95% of the time is Fast Track AI. And the first thing and it's four easy steps. It's really three easy steps once you get set up. The first step is create or select a design profile. So you get design. You could create a user profile where you set a thickness, you set do you need a tighter fit, which basically, if you have really poor undercuts, if the patient has really poor undercuts, you want uniform thickness? Do you want a custom thickness? Do you want our AI system to generate a trim line, or do you have a trim line coming from the case? You can set all these things, and once you set it, all you have to do is pick that profile when you load a case. So once you're all set up and once you're going, right, you basically just drop your case in, you can select the profile and go, which is like three steps instead of four steps, or really two steps. But this will be the first thing. It's pretty nice. The second is you drop your case and you set up your profile. In this case, we'll call it like default aligner, and then you just load the case, right? So a lot of treatment planning systems will load as an XML, but you could also load as an STL. You could load a bunch of STL files as well, right? You could decide whether or not you want the to have your PTS files in there if it's just in the same folder with the same name, or you can just have our AI system do it for you, and then you confirm, and then you're ready to go, right? So, and then the next step is you press go and you get a cup of coffee. So you just loaded a case, right? You just select, generate, and you pay your credits. You have annual credits. It's super simple, and then you just go, and your steps just process, right? It takes a few minutes, and it's very very simple. In about 5 minutes to 6 minutes, you should have at least 12 stages ready to go, ready to send it to printer. That's it. And then finally, once you're done, you just have a one click support and staging and send to the printer. So you can see here that you can see here that basically your system has each tray has been successfully designed, and then you just export. It goes straight to LuxFlow, and then you will just press confirm. And what you'll see here is that all of the trays come in, and they're automatically oriented, supported, and nested, and ready to be sent to the printer. And that's it. Then you just slice it, and it goes to the printer. So Fast Track AI, like we described before, is something that you're going to use about 90-95% of the time. You load it, you'll load your profiles. You'll have probably like three or four profiles for different types of anatomies and different types of cases. And you'll just load the profile for that according case. They'll just go. And that'll be basically what will do the trick and give you a really great outcome for the vast majority of your cases. But there's going to be some cases where you're going to want to go the extra mile. You may have patients that have even fewer undercuts. You might have people who have missing teeth where they need to be where you need Pontics. You may have, or you may have a case that has severe undercuts that you need to do some gingival margin blockouts, right? Or a specific type of device you're trying to make where you need to change the trim line. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And that's where control mode is for, right? And there's five easy steps, basic steps in control mode. The first step is is converting the scan to model. You could do this via our AI tool, but your user can also, you can also manually clean or base a scan as needed to create the any sort of specific effect or clean up any specific artifact. You could do AI powered trim generation, right? Where our AI engine will create the trim line for you, and it'll create a trim line where you do, full scallop, straight, whatever. But you can also draw and or modify the trim line yourself to make a specific type of outcome that matches your specific unique needs. You have automatic interproximal blockout, right? Based on the extent of blockout that you need. But you can also add and remove blockout at will with a paintbrush or smooth out blockout. You could also add pontics and cover missing teeth and other things. And then you can create your shell at by basically once you have your interproximal blockout trim line, you could create a shell between zero point 0.6 and 1.2 millimeters thickness. You could choose tight fit if you have undercut issues. You can create multi-thickness or thin occlusal shells at will. And then finally, you could set your label size and depth and do custom labels where you could type anything you want, create that label at any spec you want, and then also add or remove material from the shell or place attachments. Do a little bit of a deep dive for you guys so you can kind of see all the really interesting things that you can do to solve a lot of unique needs. So first thing I'm going to talk about is a scan and model, right? You might say, oh, well, fast track, we have scan and model. We basically will do an AI model automatically in that and everything will be great. But there are some cases where the AI model may not be the best. 14, AI is one of those tools where it will do 95% of the work for you, but you always need to check its work, right? And you always need to teach it more. So there's a case, I want the best way to describe this is a real life case. You have a 14-year-old with severe underbite and crowding and cleft palate treatment, right? If you see what their upper looks like. And if you look at the AI system, the AI model, it doesn't do a great job with defining, with a lot of data is removed from the model. You can see here, you have teeth that are removed. You have the definition in some of the teeth that are protruded, that are essentially removed on both sides. So you want to basically do a manual cleanup. And this is one of those cases where, a doing a manual scan the model, doing some modification can really like take you the next step to make sure you get the exact foundation of a scan that of the scan that you want to make the device that you want. So you can see here now this is like a bit of an improved device at the end. So undercuts, right? If you want to modify undercuts in a custom way, you're able to do that. So you might find here that you could create undercuts on the model itself, right? By carving into the model with the negative brush, right? With a subtract tool. And you can do this with the modify the size and intensity to determine the extent of undercut creation you want, or the size of the undercut creation, right? So, or severity. You could also reduce those undercuts. You could create gaps by doing this, though perhaps a better way of doing that is through the blockout tool. And you can also smooth the edits that you make. If you create undercuts, you can smooth those undercuts. So this is something that if you want to use this feature, the best way to use this feature is to create undercuts for patients with incredibly difficult anatomy, and it'll do just that. The second thing that you can do here is custom trim lines, right? So we talked a little bit about being able to do AI trim lines, and that's great. But here you're also able to draw a trim line entirely from scratch and modify it entirely from scratch, right? So you have a lot of cool things you could do. You could just draw the trim line exactly as you want, and once you're done drawing it, you just control click and you get the trim line that you need, right? So if you're an existing LuxCreo customer, you may find these things to be pretty nice new knowledge or refreshers as well. So you could here by pressing control click, you create the trim line from the drawing for a trace, and then you can modify it by just retracing a trim line to modify. Or if you don't want to retrace a trim line, you could fine tune the trim line further by dragging the specific nodes. You could control click to add nodes or remove nodes, and then you can move those nodes anywhere you want to create very fine-tuned trim lines. Now, here's a really interesting feature, and this is a feature that is in our current beta, so should be launching at the end of this month. And this is something that I think is incredibly cool and incredibly powerful, right? You can select a tooth from what we're from a library and for ponting generation. So instead of creating like a simple bridge, you could actually pick the missing tooth, corresponding missing tooth. You could place it there from our tooth library, and you could move, rotate, and scale it. So you could rotate the tooth to the right to the desired position, right? You could set the tooth to the desired scale, and you can move the tooth to make sure that it is in the right occlusion, right? And what is coming soon is the ability to see the oppositional, or the antagonist. So you could actually see, like, are you make sure you're not interfering with the antagonist corresponding tooth. And then you could just fine tune and then do your gap fill. And you can basically create a Pontic bridge placement that looks like a real tooth. And that right now, what this tooth placement is it's basically a hollow tooth. So when you create your shell, you have a hollow shell where that tooth is. But what we're also building in the future is the ability to make ready-made Essex Pontic retainers using our upcoming material, 40 Bright, which we will really go into great detail on at AAO, which is next week, of course, or later this week, actually. And you can see here, being able to do this with 40 Bright and a Pontic retainer, makes something that used to be a little bit cumbersome, a little bit difficult, easy and seamless with a really great patient benefit. You can see here what a filled Pontic retainer looks like. It's a sneak peek of something that's coming later on, and you can see how good that looks and how awesome that effect is. We also have custom gap filling. But so gap filling is basically digital wax. I think most people should be familiar with digital wax. It's just like analog wax, but you do it on the software. And you're able to add digital wax to reduce undercuts, to reduce retention or improve comfort at interproximal areas to create strategic gaps. So you might be wondering what a gap is, or you might be thinking, but where you could create specific gaps. But one example that we saw, right, is one doctor wanted to create a perio stand or a recovery stand for perio surgery, right, but also serve as a bit of a retainer. And what they were able to do is they were able to create caps, by gap filling interproximal spaces in the occlusal space, to basically allow for to the teeth to move and recover in a bubble, right, in a protected bubble, while also protecting the surgical incision site for periograft surgery. And that was a really interesting feature that they employed custom gap filling to actually accomplish. So a lot of really interesting things you could do here. You could also do push points and manual thickness adjustments, right? So you can create push points by attaching a label, right, using a convex mode and setting the thickness, right? You get it with 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 thickness, and to create the extent of the push point, right? How big of a push point do you want to create on the inside? And it'll print that just as accurately as you need to. So that's a really, really nice feature for being able to create even more control. You're also able to add or reduce the thickness of the device. So you can see here, we're able to create a thickness analysis heat map. Everyone can do that. And then by pressing plus or minus or smooth tool, you can basically add or remove thickness. And you can see here what that thickness is. So it's a nominal thickness of 0.7, but in those areas, you can see 1.2 and 0.4 those areas where I added thickness and removed thickness. And that allows you to create even more customization for a bespoke device. And finally, one of our really interesting features here is bespoke attachments, where you're able to add, manipulate, rotate, and duplicate a growing library of attachments for enhanced device functionality. So, for example, instead of having class 2 elastics mounted directly to the teeth, cemented to the teeth, you could even look at 3D printing them directly on the tray itself, and designing them directly exactly as you want. And you can see here an example. You can make as many hooks as you want on both sides. You could even make conners, right? So you could attach them. You could rotate them in 3 dimensions. You could scale the size and the depth, and really fine tune them exactly as you want. And our treatment and our attachment library is growing over time. We're starting with these two, but this is something that's already available for you to play with. But now we can talk a little bit about what our post processing workflow is. So we have a few pieces of equipment here that we're mentioning here. We have the 3D printer, of course, right? Then we have what's called the iLux Wash Dental, right? And it's an automated wash box. The Lux Oven Pro, which is a heat treatment box, and in iLux Cure Pro, which is our UV Cure box. And in those, we have a one-touch, very simple way to post-process. So once your parts are removed, once your print is done, you remove them from the printer and you put them in the wash box. And you press just the powerful button or the aligner button, depending on the version of on the wash box. And then basically you just press go, and it takes about 8 minutes, and it'll automatically completely clean your parts with a guaranteed cleaning. There's no you don't have to worry about the using centrifuge or anything like that. No gimmicks. That can lead to less safe devices. So one of the issues, I think some other companies have been experimenting with centrifuging instead of using a wash. And they do that because that's the only way they can make the parts clear. But what it does is it reduces the accuracy of the parts, and it leaves the parts coated in a thin amount of uncured resin, which can lead to issues with the safety of the device after post care. It's really hard to control that. So we saw that. We said, no, we need absolute control over safety. Safety is our number one. We talked about this before, right? And so the wash box are two pumps coming from two IPA reservoirs into a main chamber. The main chamber will apply ultrasonic and agitation simultaneously to the parts. So you'll have IPA going from one chamber to the part, ultrasonic agitation applied. It'll automatically drain back into that chamber, and then fresh IPA from the second chamber will go in, ultrasonic agitation for 4 minutes, drain back. The parts are then automatically drained and they're left in the basket, devoid of IPA, and the parts are perfectly clean. You then take the parts and you put them in the oven cure, and you just press the program setting P1, and in 10 minutes the heat treatment will be completed. But we recommend a heat treatment, or require a heat treatment for direct print aligners, because our glass precision temperature is really high. It's one of the main reasons why the aligners can move teeth really well. But when your glass precision temperature is high, it means that the parts need to heat up in order to fully cure. And then from there we have our UV cure step, and it just undergoes a traditional UV cure treatment. Takes 20 minutes, and then once that's done, it will you finish the parts, and it takes about 20 to 30 seconds to finish the parts, and then you're basically done, right? So this is really easy. To finish the parts, it's three quick steps. You basically remove the parts by support. You could do this by hand, or you could do this with a tool. We show by a tool for people who have smaller hands, but it's really easy to do for both. And then from there, it was all like belt. From there, you can buff along the trim line. The supports are only on the gingival margin, only on the trim line, and you just need a buff with a hand piece, along the gingival margin trim line in that circle, and then you perform a final rinse. And that final rinse is done right here. And just with a soft bristle brush and water, and that's it. Then you can blow dry it, and give it to the patient right then and there. Very, very simple. It takes 20 to 30 seconds. But our workflow is a 2 hour end-to-end workflow with 12 trays per build. An 8 hour production cycle allows you to do 56 trays per printer. Which we consider very, very, very efficient and effective. Now we're going to talk about some of the clinical results that we're seeing. It is a very small, handpicked fraction of clinical results that we have. We have hundreds of clinical results in our database. They're all really good. They're all representative of basically this. So, and the first one I want to talk to you about is actually my case, right? So, I'm doing a 40 liner case, right? 34-step treatment. I'm actually currently on step like 32. So very close to being done. But this is a historical, case analysis from at tray 20. And what you're able to see here, right, is I'm doing a sequential distalization. I'm a unilateral class 2 with 7 attachments and elastics attached to 6 and 31, right? So I do class 2 elastics. I use daily rejuvenation, but I only change my tray. I change my tray. I only wear my trays for 6 to 7 days. So pretty quick turnaround per tray. And what you're able to see here, right, from tray 0, where you can see my overbite, my overjet. You can see I have TMJ, right? And I have a misalignment, but you can also see my bite is a bit of a mess. And from tray 0 to tray 20, you could see substantial improvement in my bite correction, right? So now my bite is aligned. You can see that my overjet has been dramatically reduced, and now and you could see basically huge improvements in my treatment. And now being nearly done, I could tell you that my canine is actually pointing the right way now, which is nice. And I'm cleaning up my distalization, and my teeth are and my anteriors are now substantially straighter. It's been quite a great journey. My TMJ feels much more in control as well. So here's a second case, right? And this is a class 2 malocclusion. So late 30s male, no attachments, no elastics, daily rejuvenation, trays change every 2 weeks. So you can remember before I was a unilateral class 2 and I did sequential distalization. But here I use elastics and I use 7 attachments, right? But I only wore my trays once a week. Now, here's another case, right? Similar age, different person. But here they were doing sequential distalization with 0 attachments and 0 elastics. But they use daily rejuvenation and they change their trays every 14 days. And without attachments or elastics, they are able to get strong sequential distalization results. Here's another treatment, right? This is a child with tongue thrusting, right? So they use a tongue tamer, and here they use no attachments, but they use a multi-thickness liner design. Remember we talked about multi-thickness, where you have the nominal thickness, but in the areas of higher treatment velocity, it has thicker. It can be thicker for better stress relaxation control and predictability. So here they're changing their frequency, about every 10 to 14 days, and what they're seeing here is dramatic improvement in their lower crowding and in their upper crowding, right? And in their 2-month review, this is a huge improvement without attachments and and with multi thickness. So here is another case, right? And this is an overjet off midline, right? And here they're using class 2 elastics, they're using attachments, but they're also using multi thickness, and they're using a bite ramp, anterior bite ramp, right? And they're changing their trays every 7 to 14 days. So this is still on track. It's a step 11, so we're still about halfway through the treatment. But you can see here that the lower crowding has been substantially improved, that the overjet is dramatically reduced, and that the smile is on midline, right? So these are all really great results so far. Here's another case, right? Again, we're doing no attachments and multi-thickness. This is a patient that completed a 10-month treatment with a change frequency of 7 days to resolve crowding and crossbite, right? They had crowded lower teeth and they had a crossbite. So you can see their crowding right here. It's basically, I'd say, social 6 crowding, and you could see their crossbite. You could see that their lower incisor is pointing out the wrong way. But after treatment, 10 months, you can see that their incisor is exactly where it needs to be, and there's no crowding, right? Their lower anterior 6 is perfectly well aligned, right? And their crossbite has been corrected, right? And their crowding has been corrected. So really great results here. And this is a patient that I don't even think they needed any sort of mid course or refinement at the end. Here is another patient with deep bite and overjet, right? So this patient had a deep bite. You can see the picture right here. Their deep bite. You can see that, and you can also see their overjet. And they're on step 10. They're changing every 10 days, but they're using no attachments whatsoever and multi thickness. After step 10, you can see a dramatic improvement in their overjet, right? Their overjet is substantially reduced. You can see that their deep bite has been improved substantially, and you can see that their lower crowding is significantly improved as well. So this is a treatment that is perfectly tracking after 10 steps, no mid-course correction needed. And so far, it looks like they may not even need significant refinement. And the final one I want to show you is a bit of a unique one, right? And this is the creation of an implant place, right? So this is a patient that treatment where I think they only had 3 trays in the entire treatment. So they had tooth number 27 distalized in 2 trays, right? And each trade was worn for about 10 days. That's it. So 20 days they achieved digitalization. And then they had tooth number 26 intrusion as a third tray, right? So number 26 intrusion took 9 weeks. So they just wore the same tray for 9 weeks to create the right amount of intrusion, right? So after about 11 weeks, 12 weeks, they were able to have open clearance for number 36 crown restoration, right? And they did that by displacing the oppositional, right? So this was a really, really great way to uniquely use our 40 liner treatment to create implant space. Um, so some of the key takeaways, right? So 4D aligners solve critical issues with aligner workflow. That allows in devices that are safer compared to other direct print aligners with no gimmicks such as centrifuging and nitrogen cure, right? We have a more accurate, predictable, and cost-effective treatment system and design system and manufacturing system. We have better comfort and we have better treatment satisfaction. And what all of this does is it liberates your practice, it liberates your staff with simplicity of training, liberates your practice with less chair time and less treatment complexity and less overhead, and liberates your patients because your patients are less likely to be stuck in a refinement hell. And they fewer mid course corrections, less chair time, better comfort, better predictability, better happiness, and allows them to feel better about their treatment and feel like their treatment is not getting in their way of their life, but also giving them really strong and really predictable results at the time that they were promised. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and I'd like you to consider how will 40 aligners transform your practice. Thank you very much.